Thanks, Allison and Peter. Now, coming up next, we dive into the wild world of film programming with Mike Plante, U of A alum and senior film programmer at the Sundance Film Festival, which is, of course, the premier film festival in the United States. Mike is also a very talented filmmaker, and he and I go way back, but we don't have time for that right now. Right now, Mike answers questions from Alyssa Urgo, one of the School of Theater, Film, and Television's class of 2020 and iDream and Widescreen filmmaker. So let's see what they're talking about right now.
So we'll just hop right on in. So to start off, how did your career path bring you to Sundance? Did you always know that you wanted to be a festival programmer?
God, no. Why would anybody want to do this? You watch a lot of films and you don't get paid much. No, and it was funny. I took a class. Well, I went to U of A. I wanted to do something with movies, but I was too scared when I was 18. So I was like, well, I know computers, so I'll just go into computers. I was an MIS major. And I didn't know that the U of A is like one of the top 5 MIS programs in the country, so I did terrible and ended up with a C average. So then I got this letter one day. Oh, I should have pulled it out. Whatever. It doesn't even say my name. It just says, "Dear business student, your GPA is so bad you have to leave the business department." So, because it was a C 2.0, whatever it was. And then I was like, okay, so I called my parents. This is after 3 years. And I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I've always wanted to do film. And they're like, just do what you want to do. Just don't leave college. I was like, okay. And I like Tucson. So I switched to media arts. I started doing film. And I still got a C average. I still did really bad. But one of the classes I took from the now retired Julio Scalinger was to work the Arizona Film Festival. And it was a class about distribution, I think, something like that. And but part of it was working at the screening room downtown and helping to run the festival. And it was great because the festival was so tiny that I got to learn how to be a programmer. How do you find films? How do you watch submissions? The kind of discussions you have about why you should show something. Mm-hmm. And then but I also learned how to be a projectionist. I learned how to do box office. I learned how to do print shipping because there's only probably like 5 of us running everything. And since the stakes were low, we just had to put on a good show for a local community. You know, the world's not watching. So it was great. You could learn and you could try different stuff and you could concentrate on what worked locally instead of nationally. And so it ended up just being a really good experience. And then I also was working at Casa Video forever, worked at the Loft Cinema in the late 90s. This is in 93 that I started working for the Arizona Festival. And then it ended up that some people who had a Tucson connection, I don't remember who, knew that the Telluride Film Festival was running low on projectionists. A lot of people had retired. So I just happened to get a job at the Telluride Film Festival, met somebody that worked doing tech at Sundance. And the first job I got was actually doing presentation managing, just sort of like making sure that the films we got in, we understood how they were going to be presented. And I'd have these discussions with the filmmakers because I knew how to be a projectionist. And I was also doing a film zine, a Xerox zine called Cinemad. And so they figured I could talk to people. And so from that, I just like got my foot in the door. I'd already had programming experience, and the fact that I was doing a film zine and how many people were doing that was published and available in stores. And then the fact that I knew how to be a projectionist, and then basically the fact that I just wasn't a jerk. It wasn't like I didn't want to be a part of Hollywood. I just kind of wanted a job with films. Just helped me stick around. And so the first year at Sundance was 2001. So the 2002 festival, I helped watch some shorts and then got along with people. And then they started to get so many more shorts. Like, well, why don't you just be a shorts programmer along with this other person who's already a programmer? So it just fell down the stairs into it through a complete ability to not do any other job and just like be good at talking about film, good about thinking about film. I didn't take things personally. Like you show films that may not speak to you, but you understand that they speak to a crowd, so you need to show them. You show, the idea that whether or not something's good or bad, generally you can't get your feelings hurt. Like I love a film, but other programmers, other people you work with don't. Then how do you describe it to them? Why do you talk about why is it important to show? Things like that. So it just sort of worked out. And then along the way, I've worked with a lot of other festivals, mostly because you just get seasonal work. But you just start meeting people that work at other festivals. And so now I've been at Sundance for a long time. So will this be my, 2002 is the first fest. So this will be my 19th festival.
Wow.
Ridiculous.
Wow. Yeah, that's awesome though. So we both got our film degrees from U of A. How would you say that U of A impacted your career?
It's kind of funny. You would guess that you go to school and you find somebody that would give you a job later. And I guess that's what you expect by going to school. Well, you're going to get experience. You're going to go somewhere. You have this piece of paper that says, I did all this stuff. I know how to do this thing. You should pay me to do that thing. And it seems like that works best in other departments like math, like research. It's such a great research school. Like I helped build this telescope. I should probably get a job doing that. That makes sense. Boom, boom, boom. Like film is so esoteric and it's so hard to quantify that I think it ends up more like if you go to some school that's expensive and you've heard of that has a big film department where famous people have their name on the building, then maybe you meet somebody that will give you a job because they came and talked to your class. But I think even that's super rare. There's not enough jobs for everybody. So sort of in a weird way, the U of A department, and of course when I went there, I'm assuming it was smaller. It didn't feel like there were that many students. I feel like you knew everybody. So it's specifically in film. So what helped is there was smaller classes and there was a lot of one-on-one time with the teachers. There was also a lot of times where you just had an opportunity. I know some other colleges you have to fight to, like some make you work together on films and one person gets to write it and another person gets to direct it. It's like that's probably useful if it's set up the right way, but we were just like, it was just a free-for-all. Like everybody got to use the camera, everybody got to use sound, and then we all had to help each other. Like I ended up being a DP for like 6 years on other people's films during school and after school. I learned how to do sound. Of course, all this equipment's obsolete now, but still, it's like, Nagra would like wrap the mag tape around it and stuff. Like, I came off, hold on, So, but still, you got to work on other friends' films. You got to do your own film. You got to learn how to work with people. We all failed. Everybody makes the same kind of film, and like, why should you're 18 to 21. Why should you be some genius? It's dumb. Like, just learn, just crap out a lot, and it's all going to work out. Everybody we've heard of, they have made bad films. So it's okay. So it's really great to kind of have that experience. Living in Tucson is incredible. I still miss the town a lot. I live in Los Angeles mostly because of work, but I'd be thrilled. And nowadays, we can talk about that later. Maybe I can move back to Tucson and do the same job with virtual stuff. But I think living in Tucson just took that pressure off. Like people aren't watching what you're doing. We had like screenings at the screening room. When I worked at the Loft, it was a lot of fun, but it was a little more lo-fi. It was a little more, there were only 8 of us that worked there. We showed what came out, but there's a lot more local programming going on there now. A lot has to do with video projectors too. The fact that Tucson is just kind of a great creative town that doesn't overwhelm you, I think is really, really beneficial. Living in a big city like New York or LA has other benefits, but it's also incredibly overwhelming. You can't help but put yourself up against what else is going on. And so there's just kind of this this, even if you're not looking for it, there's this competition going on, and it doesn't really mean anything when you're just starting out, but it's hard not to have it weigh down on you. So to live in a town that's kind of fun, and kind of low key, and to be able to help each other out was just, I think, was the best way I could have done it.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that creative pressure idea. I hadn't thought of it like that before, but I completely agree with you on that about Tucson, for sure.
Yeah, because even Chicago's a great town, but it's still like some awesome people live there. There's a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot to do, a lot to see.
Yeah, that was a great point. How would you describe the collaborations with your fellow programmers at Sundance?
For short specifically, if you send a short, submit it to Sundance, one of us will watch it. It takes too much time to have somebody else watch it and then double check it. And because it's short, we can do that. We can, if your short is 30 minutes and the first 15 minutes are not good, we're not going to watch. The second 15 isn't going to help you. So, but we still watch, if your short's 10 minutes, we'll watch all of it. So right now it is, right now there's 8 of us, I think, 7 of us. I keep forgetting because two folks had to spend, they have kids, so they don't quite have as much time now in today's world. So I think we have 7. So we'll watch it, and then if it's good, each one of us will save it, and you just have a list, and then the whole group watches all the ones that could even possibly play Sundance. So we get thousands and thousands come in, but most of them are people who are sending us their reels, or they're sending us just kind of jokey videos, cat videos. People film their kids acting because they want their kids to become child actors, which is gross, but that's easy to be like, nope. So, but then you have a couple of thousand that are really good. So it takes us 6 months from May through November to watch everything that comes in. Because it's short, because there's a bunch of us, we can get through them. Mm-hmm. So, and then anything that's good, which, sometimes it'll be 3 people watching it. And then if it's really good and it kind of gets through that level, then all 7 of us will watch it. And that's probably around 500. And those are really just incredible kick-ass shorts. And that's far more than we can show, but this is like the best of the best. And then once we have that short list, once all of us watch them, then we just have this long meeting that's like 4 to 5 days. And together we make programs, what will play good with each other. So, we can't just say like the short's good, so you play it, because we run out of room. So then you start having esoteric discussions, and then it's really like, this film's good, but does anybody love it? No one really loves it. Okay, it's going to be on the bubble for now. And then there's probably 25 shorts that are just the best things we've seen. And that's easy. They're going to go in. Then you've got that middle stuff, and the middle room where you have, in a normal year we'll show 70. So that's 45 spots for another 400 or so. Like, okay, what's really doing something good? What's not perfect, but we think the person's talented? There may be a short that's good, not great, but it's by somebody who's made 4 features. Like, you know what? We're not going to help that person at all. And the short isn't blowing everything else out. So that's not going to get in. And it's really about, our job is to discover new talent, or at least help people who are still on their way to try to make more movies, whether they make more shorts or a feature. So we talk about that stuff. And then in the order you see the shorts, like, all right, will this short play good third in this program after these 2 shorts? Will it get blown away by the shorts after it? And that's how something gets in or not. So it's a lot of what if talking. It's a lot of what we feel. There's definitely love for everything we show. Some may be just one person that really believes in it, but they believe in it enough, and I trust that programmer with whatever their background may be. They really like that short, and they think it's going to speak to an audience. So they're like, okay, I can trust that. And then it gets in.
Is there something that you look for personally that stands out to you in a short to know that it's good enough to be in?
Mm-hmm. If it's well done, then I want to give it a chance. But that's like, I leave it as vague as that on purpose. If your film looks great and the acting's good and it's boring, then it's boring. It's not going to have a chance. Well done does mean, is there an emotion to it if it's a drama? If it's a thriller, did it actually take turns I didn't expect, or at least did them well? If it's a comedy, did I laugh? It's more important for me to just feel like I liked a film. And, we've done that. Everybody, I'm probably the oldest person in the group, but everybody's definitely done this. Like the youngest one, D'Emanuel Richardson, he started out in The Office, and he's 30 years old now, but he's been around us, and he's been a shorts programmer for 2 years, but he's been around programming at Sundance for 5 years. So he still gets the discussions. And, besides that, everyone's done this 10 years or more. So everyone knows when you see a film and you're like, this is going to play great. I've seen it a lot, but this person's a good filmmaker. That happens quite a bit. But for the most part, it's just like, did I like the film? Because I hit play, we have them come in through a database so we can keep track of them. I hit play. I don't look at who made it. I don't look at their bio. I don't even look at the one-liner. I'm just sitting down, because audience members do that. Right. People who are a little more, it's not quite with a feature. With a feature, you read about something, you watch a trailer, do I want to watch it? People who like shorts, audiences who want to see it, they'll just come and watch shorts. They really aren't going to do research. So I'm going to have that experience when I go through submissions. I don't know if I'm supposed to laugh or cry or think or not. So will this film make me do that without me being set up for anything? And that's usually how something works when a film does work in the right way.
Mm-hmm. Has the film submission / selection process changed with working from home?
Sadly, no. I'm still I've had this, that's the existential discussions we're having now. It's just like, so this is how I lived anyway.
Yeah.
Is that sad? I think the toughest thing is just like, you can get away from it if you can go outside. Right. The issue with working at home is that you have to be very conscious about turning it off or on. And, you just pay attention to the clock. It's like, it's 6 o'clock. I want to watch 4 more, but I just can't because I'm going to get burned out. And, if I wake up at 7:30, it's just about like reading a book or doing something that's not, I still watch movies all the time for fun too, whether it's at night or the morning. I just consciously have to turn the work mode off. Otherwise it's going to be too much. And before all this happened, it was easier just like, I'll just go to a restaurant. And now it's like, I have to order food and eat at home, whatever, boo-hoo. Other people have it much more difficult. I'm happy to have a job. We definitely don't know what's going to happen in the future like anybody else. And it definitely impacts not only our ticket sales, but also just the kind of sponsorship we get. Sundance is very interested in what's going to happen. And I'm not going to take anything for granted. I definitely feel lucky that I can still work at home and just trying to adjust a little bit. So I still have like kind of a downtime, which I'm sure everybody is now.
Right. Yeah. How do you think that, or do you think that the pandemic will impact Sundance long-term in years to come with some more permanent changes to be made?
It's going to be interesting because you already would get the flu by coming to a festival in the winter, not just us, any winter festival. You have a lot of people traveling, you have people worn down from not sleeping, and you're in a packed environment, whether it's a theater or a party. So, we're of course super sensitive to that. Like we're definitely going to have some sort of festival this year because that's our mission. And for the most part, even if people don't travel, we have a huge audience in Utah that we serve. So we want to make sure we still give them films. It'll be a good probably 3 or 4 years before you go to a festival and there's 100 events inside stuff. I think it's really going to be more of a movie theater only experience. And, festivals next year is still going to be rough on festivals. And 2022 is the next thing that's going to be pretty interesting. I also hope, I think this will happen just with the other folks we've been talking to with other festivals and other art houses. We're going to have some sort of digital version of the festival, and we're going to have, we announced it in the New York Times. We're going to do a festival. We have a bunch of films that we'll show in Utah, but then we're going to have a certain amount of festival films that show in other cities at art houses. So the Loft Cinema, for example, would show some films that are part of the Sundance Film Festival while we're going on. And I hope that continues, even if things go back to relatively normal, because it's always going to be expensive to travel and to go to a town. Plus, people are losing their jobs. Plus, if you get your job back, you may have to work while these festivals are going on. So the fact that you could still experience Sundance and other festivals by going to your local theater, I think is going to be so essential for the future. And then whatever we do online, we don't want to ruin any film that's trying to make a sale to go online for VOD later, but we definitely want to have some films that may never get a sale. This may be the best thing that ever happened. You're in the Sundance Film Festival, and that may be the release you get. And you may get a sale for VOD later that's more modest, but you're not going to get, so many films are competing for a small amount of space with distributors. Festival distribution may be the biggest crowd you ever get, and then it goes on to something later that's beneficial, but this may be really good to reach the most audience as possible.
Mm-hmm. How would you describe the audience that goes to Sundance?
I think people will be surprised. It's mostly film fans that just want to see movies, because we have certain theaters that are set aside that are specifically for press and industry, and a lot of press and industry will go to a public screening because they want to see how it interacts with a crowd. But a lot of folks will also just go because they need to see a lot of movies in a row and without being in line. So they'll go to these industries. It's only like 4 screens, but so you have a lot of distributors that want to buy movies. You have a lot of distributors that are releasing movies, and then you have a lot of press that are writing about movies. But I would guess that's only maybe 20% of the crowd. Really, most of the crowd are people that love movies. They take a vacation to go see movies. You're in an environment where you get, almost every time you get to see the filmmaker and or people who made the film and or the subject of a documentary speak live in front of you. And it's just a really great experience. I worked for Telluride as a projectionist for 6 years, but then I kept going a couple years after that. And I got to go because I worked for Sundance and because I worked for this other festival, Cinevegas at the time. But then it was mostly like, I wanted to go there because of the experience too. Yeah. I happened to grow up near Telluride just randomly. And so it's just, I love going to that area of Colorado, but then also just, they'd show a lot of retro films and those filmmakers would come and talk. So the experience for Sundance is similar, where it's fans of film and getting to see it in a special way. I think a lot of people live in towns without an art house too. And even if you do, we show 120 films. They're not all going to get distribution. So you get to experience movies you might not see another way. So it's pretty fun. I wish it was a more affordable way to see stuff. It's very tough for every festival because you do these in resort towns. Also just because a lot of people come. So then, it's competitive for space, whether it's hotels or places to eat. But if you can do it at a place that you can stay with a friend, like going to a film festival is just this really one-of-a-kind experience if you love movies.
Yeah, I hope to go someday, and hopefully it'll be normal again and a full experience. That would be awesome.
Yeah, totally. I think if I didn't work here, I would still try to find a way to go. I know without a doubt I would find 3 to 4 festivals throughout the year to go to. I can't imagine getting any other kind of job though. So I probably will always have a job that sends me for work. So I'm lucky.
Do you have any advice for students who might be looking into getting into that career?
Basically the way I did it on accident, just do it on purpose. Like find a festival in a town you can live cheaply and work there. Or if there's a festival that is, just you have some sort of way, like you said, you go to Chicago. So if you have family to stay with, there's a Chicago Film Festival. There's a lot of local festivals that are great, or work at a movie theater too, an art house theater. You learn some of the similar stuff, like how do audiences react? And especially if you want to make a film, any kind of film, if you want to be an editor or a writer, much less a director, it's like, how do audiences see stuff? The thing I learned the most, because we'd make our shorts, we'd show them to each other, we'd have a screening at the end of the year. So that was a lot of fun, but that's still a very controlled bubble. And not until I started working at movie theaters did I see how things reacted when I had an idea about a film, and then you see it with, hundreds of people. It just changes. Once you learn about projection, like you've really got to know how your film's going to be shown. You've got to learn how your film, people are going to hear your film. How's your film, if it's a short, especially that, if you go and see a shorts program, you realize the work you've made, how it interacts with a crowd, because they're sitting next to you and you can't fake that. They're strangers. So I say, working at a small place for a while is really great because you get some control. The stakes are low. You often can live in a cheaper city. And then if you end up meeting people at that festival, you probably find a reason to go to another festival, and you'll meet people who work there too. I mean, we've had a lot of people who started out volunteering at Sundance who went on to become producers and directors. We've also had a lot of people who volunteered and then got a small seasonal job, and now they have a year-round job at a festival, if not us somewhere else. And so it's great. It's all nonprofit, so you're not going to make a ton of money. I get to break even living in LA, but I like the people I work with. I'm happy to work at a place that I think does help somebody on their career, at least helps people see the movie you've made and want to get to know you and want to know what you're going to make next. So I enjoy that. But sooner or later, I'll probably work at a smaller place, or I would even love to work at a movie theater again, just get to present films to people. I make documentaries on the side, but I own my own equipment and I make sure that I don't spend very much money doing it. So my job doesn't kind of cross over too much, and I'm lucky because I can edit at home and I can go out and film when I need to, and I can still keep doing this kind of work. I don't get too burned out because it's just different enough.
What would you say is the intended impact of the festival?
Sundance, I mean, our number one mission is really to get unheard voices and audience. Since the start, when Robert Redford started the festival, less and less people know who that is, which is kind of awesome because people know Sundance, but he was a very big actor, and he was very philanthropic, and he bought a lot of land in Utah where Sundance Resort is now, but he did that before he had the festival in the 60s. And he started a lab that was for writers and directors to come together and help each other and help learn from older film industry. And so it's always been our mission to help new talent on the path they're already going, help that go a little bit faster, have people believe in you a little bit more. And then especially with diverse filmmakers that maybe aren't getting a shot in Hollywood. And that's changed over the years, but obviously, I mean, if you can read the news, it's only gotten incrementally better. And, we've always tried to find Native American filmmakers, African American filmmakers, Asian American, Latinos. It's really about who's working in film, mostly in America. We show a lot of international films, but who's working in America and hasn't gotten a chance yet and is a pretty talented person with whatever they're doing, a very talented artist. Can we help find an audience for what they've made, and can we help them meet people to help them make more films? That's the real mission. And then in that, we're also trying to provide entertainment. We're showing socially relevant films that hopefully will have an impact on their issue. And we also show just a lot of dumb fun movies, So you try to we're trying to be a steamroller to just kind of keep all of this stuff going. And then we definitely try to put on a good show that if you just want to watch movies, you can come to town and you can buy a ticket. You can wait in line. Of course, stuff sells out, but you can wait in line, buy a movie ticket, and go see a movie, and then you can leave. You don't have to be part of the film industry. You don't have to buy a really long pass. You don't have to stay for a week. You could stay in Salt Lake and see movies there. You don't even have to come up to Park City, where the mountain town where it takes place, and you can just buy tickets and see stuff. So we try to keep it as accessible as possible at the same time.
Yeah, cool. That's all the questions that I have.
Okay.
Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me.
Yeah, for sure. I hope kids that are going to U of A feel like, it's a good place. It's a good experience. You can learn things. I was too scared to come to Los Angeles when I was 18, and it was cheaper then. I'm sure I couldn't have afforded it. And I think the weird path I went down worked really well for me, because I just took more time and I got more of a personal experience. I wasn't in this overwhelming place, but was still around culture. I'm jealous of how great the Loft Cinema is now.
Oh, yeah.
Casa Video's still going. There's so many great people and things in Tucson. I think it's a really good place to start out and stay in for a while. Don't feel like you got to come out to this town. This town's getting expensive.
Yeah, that's what I'm worried about.
Yeah, cool. Well, and I hope my experience helps a little bit.
Oh yeah, it was great to hear, and especially somebody from U of A also. I mean, it's just really cool getting to hear how it brought you to where you are now, and it sounds like the school is pretty much the same as to when you went. Classes are still small, which I loved, and you really get close with the professors, and yeah, it sounds like it was a pretty similar experience, which is always pretty cool to hear.
It's great. Can't beat the weather.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for doing this.
Yeah, thank you so much.
All right. See you.
Bye.